So it was my older brother who recommended me to do this video, and honestly, I'm so happy that he did because he reminded me that fortunately there aren't a lot of negative things that happen in my life over and over and over again. But if there is something that negatively happens in my life over and over and over again, it would be this. I can't tell you guys how many times a close family member of mine or a close best friend, once they get into a committed relationship, who the fuck is Craig? Right? Like they completely forget about you. You were once at the tippy top of their pyramid and now you have fallen to the depths below. And a lot of other people have told me that they have experienced this phenomenon as well. You know, a lot of people go into a relationship, and then once they go into a relationship, they do a complete 180 on you. They don't text you anymore. They don't call you anymore. They don't reach out anymore. When you try to hang out with them, they make a myriad of different excuses as to why they can't hang out with you. It's just terrible. It's really bad. And, you know, I want people to know this. When you are in a relationship, you should never pedestalize the person you are in a relationship with. I can't tell you how many times I have seen this scenario where someone gets into a relationship and they are essentially a slave to the person they're in a relationship with. They allow let's say they had red flags that they wouldn't tolerate. Well, now they're tolerating the same red flags that they said prior to being in a relationship they wouldn't tolerate. So they're tolerating red flags that they typically wouldn't. They're doing, they're maybe not doing the hobbies that they used to love and enjoy. Maybe their personality changes. Like they essentially just, the person that you used to know is no longer that person until they break up and the relationship fails, and then everything goes back to normal as if nothing ever happened. But then when they get into another relationship, it happens all over again. So back to what I was saying. If you get into a relationship, never pedestalize the person you are getting into a relationship with. Now listen, I get it, right? Relationships can be amazing, and yeah, I mean I get that, right? There can definitely be a heavenly feeling to being in a relationship, especially if you haven't been in a relationship before, and especially if you haven't been in a relationship in a very long time, and especially if the person you're getting into a relationship with, if there's chemistry there, if you guys have a lot in common, of course, I get it. But you have to remember that the people who were there for you before this relationship even started matter more. Because God forbid if the relationship ends and you neglect the ones who care about you while being in said relationship, when the relationship is over, who do you turn to? Who do you have? Who do you vent to? There's no confidence. There's no love. It's nothing because because your relationship is destroyed and you destroyed the people who matter the most. Who were there before, who were there predating your relationship. So when you do that, you end up in a very, very dangerous situation because now you have nothing. So that's why it is so imperative that you realize that the people who were there for you before you entered that relationship are more important. Because you should always, now, I'm not saying to completely neglect and ignore your boyfriend or girlfriend for, your friends and your family. But what I'm saying is that there needs to be some sort of balance. You should never, you shouldn't prioritize one person more than the other. And I guess if I'm coming off that way, I don't mean to. I'm just trying to emphasize the importance of the ones who were there before, who predated your relationship. Because I think oftentimes those people get neglected, those people get taken advantage of, and those people just, they just push them to the side. Ah, yeah, whatever. But then when they see their boyfriend or girlfriend, it's like, oh my God, they freak out, right? There's like this sense of hierarchy once they enter this relationship. So, I just think there should be a balance, because if there's not a balance, you are going to suffer immense consequences, God forbid, if that relationship ever ends. So it's sad. It's sad that this happens a lot. And I just think at the end of the day, we need to, and also, this is another thing, don't continue to be friends with a person who has done this to you multiple times. Like, for example, I had a really close best friend in high school who, when he was in a relationship, he pushed me to the side, whatever. And then when he broke up with this girl, our friendship was fortified times 2. Like, I felt like we got even closer. I felt like the breakup made us get even closer. I felt like I was being valued even more. I genuinely thought like, oh, okay, like I think he realized, he fucked up by pushing me away while being in this relationship, and he's trying to make up for it now that he's single. Kid you not, like a year later, he got into another relationship and the same shit happened. I cut him off. Every time I would try to make a day to hang out, he would make excuses. I cut him off. That's another thing too. You need to recognize your own self-worth. Don't allow people to walk all over you and take you for granted. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you how many times that scenario has happened to me that I just told you guys. Like, they get into a relationship, push you aside, they break up, push you, reel you in, then they get into another relationship and push you aside again. And that is when you need to just end the friendship, because they're just a shitty friend. If they didn't learn the first time, they're not going to learn the second time. And you shouldn't even allow there to be a second time. Because at the end of the day, the time that you're putting into this friendship, the time that you're putting into trying to get this person to make a equal balance between their relationship and you could be putting that time into another friendship that, actually values you, actually reciprocates the same energy and effort that you're putting in, and who doesn't do that shit. Because I've also had a lot of friends who, once they've entered a relationship, they have not changed at all. They still make time for me. They still hang out with me. They still indulge in the hobbies and the passions that they've always loved. They didn't change at all. The only difference is they have a girlfriend. But whenever I need to talk to them, whenever I want to hang out with them, they make the time for me. Or if they're not available in that moment because they're with their significant other, they eventually make the time for me. You want to associate with people like that. You want to have people you want people close within your vicinity who reciprocate your same energy, because life is too short to have friendships that are blatantly one-sided. It's not fair to you. And, you're just going to be living a very miserable life if you continue letting people take advantage of you and think that, that friendship is always there. It's all good. Absolutely not. And the crazy part is, those friends that I cut off because of, this whole scenario, I have, there are other friends who I'm also friends with are still friends with them. And I just look at them like they're crazy. Like, how can you guys allow yourself to continue to get used this way and taken for granted of? It couldn't be me. So I just think it's really important as well to know your self-worth and don't allow these people to, take advantage of you and all of this, because you're just gonna live a very miserable life. And you want real friends, man. Like, life is too short to be surrounded around fake people who don't reciprocate the same energy. That's all I'm trying to say. And I cannot emphasize that enough. I mean, I have a close family member of mine. Once he got into a relationship, he moved away, and like I have yet to hear from him. Like, I think he wished me a happy birthday, and that was it. And even the happy birthday was like very mellow and very emotionless in my opinion. And it's so funny because the year prior, he said how, I'm so sick and tired of, me not talking to you as much. I'm going to change. I'm going to reach out to you more. Like it shouldn't be this way. Guess what, guys? All bark, no bite. Nothing has changed. Haven't heard from him since my birthday. And even before my birthday, I haven't. It was like basically a year I haven't heard from him. So yeah, it just goes to show you that I guess that's another thing, right? Another great segue is into you want to surround yourself around people who also have weight behind their words, who actually will, actions speak louder than words, as the cliche going says, right? Like I can't tell you how many times people have given me false promises. I'm going to change, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You're right. I'm making too much time towards him or her. I'm going to, I got to be a better friend, and they never do anything. The reality of it is this: if people want to make a change, if people want to be a better person, they won't tell you, they won't announce it, they won't televise it, they will do it. They will just do it. If you want to be a better friend, you're just going to do it. You're not going to say, I'm going to X, Y, and Z. You're just going to do it. That's what a real friend or a real family member does. So unfortunately, I have dealt with this scenario time and time again. And I know a lot of other individuals who have dealt with this as well. So if you are currently in a relationship and if you feel guilty that maybe you are doing the same thing, let this video be a reminder to reach out to your friends and your family and to the individuals who were there before your relationship, who predated your relationship. Because if you push them away, they will only tolerate you so much with you pushing them away time and time again. And don't be shocked if one day they're not replying to your text no more. They don't have you on social media anymore, because these people know they know their self-worth, and good on them for not allowing you to take advantage of them, So care about the people who predated your relationship, because God forbid if your relationship ends, who do you have? Nobody. No confidants, no loved ones, no one. That's why it's never wise to put all of your eggs in one basket, as the other cliche saying goes. Because, listen, man, sometimes relationships are like bubblegum. When you guys, you take a fresh piece of bubblegum, right? You put it in your mouth and it tastes amazing. It feels amazing. And you're really loving the experience that you're having chewing this bubblegum for the first 10 minutes. And then like after 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour, before you know it, the flavor dilutes, the flavor evaporates, like it just dwindles. And before you know it, the gum just tastes, your jaw gets tired and you just spit it out. And then it has a terrible aftertaste. Sometimes relationships are like that. Like the beginning, it's like that they call it the honeymoon phase, right? But I wouldn't even call it the honeymoon phase. Sometimes the first year of a relationship is like amazing. It's like the first 10 minutes of chewing that fresh strip of bubblegum, right? It's flavorful. It feels good. You feel good. The other person feels good. It's just a great experience. And then before you know it, you're like, actually, I'm really not feeling this person. And you start to recognize the red flags, and you start to recognize, actually, maybe we didn't have as much chemistry as I thought. Sometimes it's infatuation. You think it's love. You think that you're actually in love. You think that there's actually common ground there. There's genuine chemistry there. But in reality, time will tell if it's actually that amazing of a relationship. So sometimes that's another thing that I've realized with some of my friends who have done this to me, is sometimes their relationships are so, the relationship is so amazing in the beginning, like that fresh strip of bubblegum, and then they realize like, oh my God, this is actually not healthy. This is actually toxic. And then they leave, and then they come to you, right? They come to you to aid them and to be that confidant. But once again, if they do that to you way too many times, you got to snip and cut them off. Because you got to realize your self-worth too. So sometimes certain relationships are like that, man. The beginning of it is amazing. And then you start to realize, actually, this isn't amazing. I was blinded. I was infatuated. It was all lust, etc. So that's all I have to say, guys. And I mean, I've been through this. Unfortunately, I've been through this experience so many times, and I can't tell you how immensely disappointing. And also, like, just I want you to realize the pain that you're inflicting on others when you do stuff like this, when you pedestalize one person and neglect the others. Like, you genuinely hurt the ones that genuinely cared about you, man. Because, like, we were the ones that, like, genuinely made sure you were good. We were the ones that called you when you were going through something. We were the ones that reached out and invited you to hang out when we knew that, you know, you were going through something. Like, we were the ones that were there for you, and you neglect us. How do you think that makes us feel? How do you think that makes us feel? You know? Like, we put so much effort and love and care into you to not get it back? Just because you enter this new relationship? Do you know how fucked up that sounds? So, you know, also, you know, try to be more empathetic and try to put yourself in the shoes of others. And you know, try to envision, like, damn, man, like, how would I feel on the opposing side? How would I feel if my friend, you know what I'm saying? I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. Try to be more empathetic. Because for us, it hurts us, man. And it's so disappointing because when you have a best friend, when you have a close family member that you were so close to, you know, you're close to them because you guys have a genuine connection, you know, and you would do anything in your power to protect that connection. But when that same person that you have this great connection with is preventing you from having that great connection to them, it feels like a giant fuck you, you know, when they could have just simply created a good balance between their significant other and you to make sure that there isn't a hierarchy. And once again, let me say again from earlier in this video, there are people like that. I'm not trying to say that every time somebody gets into a relationship, they're going to do this. It's just something unfortunate that I've experienced a lot, you know. I wish I could say I knew more people who didn't change when they got into a relationship, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So anyway, guys, that's the end of this video. Make sure to, you know, check on the ones who genuinely care and love you, and don't allow a relationship to make you neglect the ones who were truly there for you from the beginning. That's all I gotta say. Peace.